the soldier of God, Yoel Romero, has agreed to terms with Bellator, right? Last week, we had told you about the fact that he left the UFC. And I said on this show that Bellator and PFL weren't interested. Well, guess what? They weren't interested. And anyone who's tweeting me right now probably saying, oh, you were wrong, your sources were wrong, you should have listened to this guy or that guy. No, you're wrong. And in fact, if you want to know that I'm right, Scott Coker did an interview with MMA Junkie later in the week and confirmed that I was right, that he wasn't interested. But two interesting things happened, DC, along the way. Number one, Rumble Johnson signed with Bellator, and we will get to him in a second as well. That's a new face at 205. Who saw that coming? And just think about the idea of Rumble Johnson, Yoel Romero going toe-to-toe at 205. And number two, DC, I don't want to, blow smoke, but we got influence in this game. And so there might have been people who sat around watching us talk about how crazy it is that they're not signing Yoel Romero and that he's actually still really good at 43. And there might be some people out there that said, you know what? Maybe DC and Helwani are right. Let's give him. I'm just going to put it out.
No, I believe we do have influence. I do believe it.
Both of us. I'm giving us like 80% credit for this Yoel Romero signing.
I'm taking my
maybe 85.
I mean, that seems pretty high, but okay, I'll take it. I mean, I've taken 50% credit for Fight Island, so it's not like I'm gonna act like
I'll take it. I'm bringing you with me. I could take the 85% by myself. I'm bringing you.
Why? Why would you take it by yourself? When I called Scott Coker, like, yo, you really don't want this guy?
You called Scott Coker?
I called Scott Coker. I'm like, can you imagine? I was like, yo, Scott. I mean, you don't want him? Could you imagine Rumble Johnson versus Yoel Romero at 205? Like, they're both out there now. You don't want him, so like, come on, you can't take all the credit.
Okay, so what do you think of? Okay, which one's bigger in your opinion? Rumble signing, because that came out of nowhere, or Yoel signing? Which is a bigger deal for Bellator?
I think they're both massive. I think Rumble because he's younger. I think Rumble because he's younger. That's why. I think Rumble because he's a tad bit younger, and everybody knows who Rumble is and was. I mean, he's intimidating. What you want is a champion that can strike fear into the hearts of people. If he's able to replicate what he was doing in PFL before he went to the UFC at 205, remember when he beat up Andrei Arlovsky?
Oh, World Series of Fighting.
Was that World Series of Fighting at the time? Sorry.
That was heavyweight, by the way. That was heavyweight.
Yes. And then coming to 205 at the UFC and doing what he did to Ryan Bader and doing what he did to Phil Davis and doing what he did to Glover, who looks phenomenal now. If he can replicate that, you got a real prize on your hand in Rumble Johnson. So I think Rumble because he's younger. But now you got a 205-pound division that's insanely viable in the world when you got, bro, listen to this crazy thing. Rumble, Romero, Anderson, Bader, and Nemkov. Is his name Nemkov? Is the other kid Nemkov?
Vadim Nemkov is the guy who just beat Ryan Bader.
Yeah.
Let me throw one out there to the Bellator brass. 205 Grand Prix with these 8 names: Vadim Nemkov, Ryan Bader, Anthony Johnson, Corey Anderson, Yoel Romero, Phil Davis, Lyoto Machida, and let's throw in the middleweight champ, Gegard Mousasi, who used to fight at 205. I mean, you talk about a tournament. That's a tournament.
Hey, they're giving $1 million for these tournaments, right? The featherweight tournament. That's the tournament for Bellator. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the tournament. And I say you do it for $2 million.
Yeah, why not, Scott? Come on.
Listen. Gegard doesn't want to go up to 205. Put a little more money up there. I bet he'll go fight. But yes, oh my goodness. Could you imagine those first round matchups? Look, there was a time when we were in Strikeforce, and Scott's keen to doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
We're in Strikeforce, and they put all those great heavyweights in that tournament. And it made Strikeforce for the moment. Everybody's like, they got the best heavyweights in the world, even though Cain Velasquez was the best heavyweight in the world. You know that. Yeah. Cain was still the best heavyweight in the world. It wasn't anyone in that tournament. But it gave the idea that in that weight class, we were at least competitive and we had more heavyweights. You put those 8 guys in the weight class in that tournament, it'll give the impression that they're on the same footing as the UFC's 205-pound division, especially if John Jones or Israel Adesanya isn't the champion.
DC, this is what, look, we're not trying to root for anything. the sport is better, and anyone who's being honest with you would tell you this, the sport is better when there's a lot of great things going on, right? When it's not
Yes,
just
yes.
one organization that's dominating. And to see a division like this at a time when 205 has felt a little thin, right? Come
Well, it's because
together.
Jones left. If Jones is back at 205, there's no competition. I mean, it's no competition. And the reality
Those
is,
last
and
two
the
fights are
reality
pretty
is,
close.
and the reality is, look, I'm not sitting here for a second saying that division is better than the UFC's, because it isn't. But it does give the idea that there is some high level talent outside of the UFC that if you put them together, it makes for a fantastic tournament.
There's a conversation to be had, is all I'm saying. And that
That
makes
you
it a
think
lot
it's
of
a
fun.
better division?
There's a conversation to be had, especially with Rumble. We don't know what Rumble is, right? We don't know what Rumble is.
But again, like
Vadim Nemkov is really, really good.
that guy's good.
Yeah, there's a
Vadim
conversation.
Nemkov's insanely good.
You can't dismiss it. There's some like you can't say the Bellator middleweight division is as good as the UFC. That's crazy. Lightweight, no. But there's a conversation to also be had about Romero and Rumble, like this fight that just kind of came out of nowhere at 205 would be really fun. Remember, Romero started his career at 205, and then he actually got knocked out, moved down to 185, and of course had a legendary run. But I'm really curious to see Romero Rumble. If they want to put that together, this little tournament, Vadim and Corey Anderson, he recently joined and looked good in his debut.
You just leave the belt inside the Grand Prix,
like they did. By the way, you know what's so amazing about the Rumble thing? He's still one of the most feared guys in the sport, right? Like, and you fought him twice, both times as he was surging. Winning streak, you fight him. Loses, winning streak, you fight him. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I don't recall you ever being so confident before two fights. There was just something.
Yeah, but it was different. It was different, right? I knew Anthony from a long time ago too, and I kind of had an idea that if I did certain things, I can kind of almost like big brother him. So I would do it to him all the time.
Like, what does that mean, big brother? How do you big brother Rumble Johnson?
Just every time I was around him, I'll just tell him I was, gonna beat him up and like just kind of
big brother in here.
Get in his head, mess with him a lot, Wow. But I've known him since he was in junior college when I was at Oklahoma State, right? So all anybody wanted to do was go to Oklahoma State. So he'd come and work these camps and we would just wrestle and he kind of, the guys would take him down and just, it was different. I felt like I matched up well with him.
I love it. You know why I love this? Because I feel like as time will go on, I mean, your last fight was only 4 months ago, but I feel like as time will go on, you will start to be known as like the cuddly announcer guy, and people will forget this Daniel Cormier. Like you're just talking about big brothering one of the most feared strikers and powerful strikers in UFC history. Like it ain't no thing. What was that line you said about Rumble? Like, he quit to Josh Koscheck. He quit. What was that line that you said before the first one?
Nah, I don't remember that. I stopped trying to remember. I don't know. I just
tapped to Josh Koscheck. What did you say? You know what I'm talking about.
Well, because it was the guys that submitted him. I was like, if you're gonna lose to those guys, you're definitely gonna lose to me. But it was just stuff like that, right? But the reality is nobody else could do that. And he would beat the crap out of everybody. And hey, Ryan Bader, when he fought Ryan Bader was so scared that he shot from halfway across the octagon just not to get punched by Rumble. Listen, dog, he was so scared that he shot from halfway across the octagon